Yo, welcome to Dub and Trey episode 2. Today we're gonna be talking about some expectations, some things about what men want, what men like, what some of you ladies
Yeah.
may be assuming men like and we don't. But before we get started, I want y'all to hear something real quick.
When y'all hear that bell, understand we getting it in. Understand that we are really getting it in. So yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
So when y'all hear that bell, it's gonna be known that somebody is sipping on something.
Sipping on something good and expensive.
That's right. And right now we don't know how all the marketing and all that mess go with telling y'all what we sipping on. But just know
That's
when
right.
you hear that bell, yes, somebody is enjoying a nice drink or something. So with that out the way, man, let's go ahead and get into this. I'll tell you what, I start with a question.
Okay.
In your experience, what do you think are the top expectations that men want from women or that women think they want from men?
Good question. Well, I'll start with the second part of the question. I think men are sometimes critical, being judged or being evaluated critically based on the expectations of a woman. And that could be from their past, that could be from how they were raised. They may be dealing with a man that may be from a different culture, maybe from a different background. So I would say the number one thing, of course, is communication and understanding. Those two things got to be important to be able to progress, just in dating. So yeah, I would definitely say that men want to have some form of understanding. Sometimes when, from my experience, you hear a woman tell you, I want you to be more creative.
Are we talking about in the bedroom? Or are we talking about your approach
Oh
to
man, look,
loving
see,
them? What are we talking
I'm
about
talking
here?
about we could be talking about all the above,
Okay.
but I think men want women to be more specific, more detailed, more logical, just to their communication, because we know women are beautiful beings, and they have a different connection with the earth, with religion, with everything, with motherhood. There's a different level there. But
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about is when it's time to communicate with a man, I think men, one of the things that we need to understand them, men want women to be more specific. How many times have you spoken with a woman and you say one thing and she actually listens to it, interprets it, and then makes a decision about what you may have been trying to say? And I'm like, that's not what I said. I said this.
Mm-hmm.
But a woman sometimes will take that and say, no, you may have said that, but you really mean this.
This is what you meant by what you said.
This is what you meant by what you said.
Mm-hmm.
And men do not want that. Men, I don't know no man that wants that. So it's just that's just a small piece. And I think it can become big, because I really think that expectation, women wanting to express themselves and be treated a certain way, and men a lot of times will fall short because of this simple communication. You may have a woman who doesn't want flowers, but she's never actually told her man that she doesn't like flowers. Or a woman may not want, she may appreciate some of these love languages that everybody talks about. You have to communicate with your man and let him know specifically what it is you want. And then you have some women who say, well, if I have to tell him everything, then I don't want him, because that means he got to be told what to do on a regular basis, and that's just ridiculous. And you dating somebody that you don't know,
That's right.
and everybody has had different partners and different paths.
What
If you're gonna go ahead,
I was gonna say, what's interesting about that comment about if I have to tell you, then I shouldn't be with you. If women looked at a relationship like a job, right? It's something you have to pay attention to. It's something that's important in your life. It's providing you something, and you sort of get out what you put in, right? When you start a new job, someone has to tell you what the expectations are of the job, right?
right?
They detail out for you This is what we expect of you. This is what time you need to be at work. This is what time you can go to lunch. This is what time you clock
Hmm.
out for the day. And they lay out guidelines for you. Now, the
Yeah.
longer you're in the job, you make the job your own. You end up doing things your own original way, but you still
Right.
start from a place of understanding what they expect from you.
That's where women get it twisted. They want you to already be the leader in the job, seasoned at 20 years, not even 20 years, let's say just 5 years. You've been on the job 5 years. Yes, no one has to tell you what to do. No one has to tell you how to act. No one has to tell you to go and do your job. And if you're a great hard worker, you're gonna exceed that job. You're gonna go beyond that. But initially, there's some training that needs to take place.
Exactly.
For the women who already got that knowledge, this one element, yeah, they know that, but it's easier said than done. I can have a simple conversation with a woman and I say something, it's interpreted, and there's a judgment made out of that, and then there's a response that comes out of it. Next thing you know, if you at a bar or if you in a relationship or you dating somebody, you talking about something that the man wasn't even thinking about.
Right.
Having that clarity to be more specific about what they want, because everybody comes from a different background and everybody has had different experiences with the people in their past.
And to add to that, I think that issue is not only providing men your expectations up front, like your real expectations up
Hmm.
front, but assuming that men know what you expect of them. Because believe it or not, a lot of men don't know what you expect of them. Because
That's
if
right.
we're looking at you as an individual woman, not lumping you in with all the other women that that particular man may have dealt with, if he is to
Hmm.
take his past experiences and then apply them to you, you might not be the kind of woman he's dated the last 3 times. You may be completely different. But if you leave it up to him to treat you or assume to treat you like you think he should treat you, he's going to end up treating you like the last 3 girls he treated or women he treated.
Right. And you don't want that.
And you definitely don't want that. So I definitely agree that number one is we would definitely like women to lay down some expectations up front and throughout the relationship, because people change,
Yeah.
expectations change, and what you meet someone, when you meet someone in the beginning and you're with them for a while, you're going to change. The man is going to change and the woman is going to change, and when you change and you feel like your expectations change, y'all need to have that conversation.
So let me talk about that word, because me personally, I have a problem with that word. When you say expectations, when we all say expectations, in the term that we're using it, I think it can be interpreted as something that how you would like your significant other to treat you,
Right.
or how would you like your significant other to court you
Right.
for the women. But when you say expectations, I always have an issue with that because it's not always clear cut. For example, if she's wanting a specific type of thing and he can't provide that thing at that moment, then that expectation in her mind has you failed. You have failed this expectation. So I like to try to use a different terminology because it makes it appear as though it's an obligation.
So what you're saying is that expectation looks like a list. Like
Yes.
here's my list of demands. If you can't give me this list of demands, like the bank robber, if I don't get what I want, then
Right.
I'm
Right.
killing everybody, right?
And expectations are good as long as they're being fulfilled. But what happens when the expectation is not being fulfilled? What happens then? Is there a certain feeling of understanding? But when you say expectations, it makes it sound like it's this way or else. And
Right.
I just want to make sure that the listeners and people understand that you have expectations. That don't mean people have to fulfill those expectations.
Absolutely.
Whether it's a mother, father, daughter, son, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, you can expect all, because guess what? The word is limitless. It doesn't have a cap on it. You understand what I'm saying? There's no cap on that.
Yeah, you're right.
So therefore, nobody's expected anything as far as I'm concerned. If it happens, then you winning. You're doing a great job. I appreciate you. And the word appreciation should be used when it comes to men, because we don't get that. We don't get the baby, I'm proud of you.
Mm.
We get baby, what the hell you doing? That might be number two. Why you doing this? You know what I mean? It's not, oh baby, I appreciate you. Thank you for whatever it is. Thank you for the good morning. Thank you for whatever it is. You know, that expectation thing can grow and become a monster. And I've seen it become a monster for marriages. I've seen it become a monster for children and mothers and sons and fathers. And that's because the person with the expectation seems to never stop, and it continues to grow.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
So you got to be kind of careful with that word, because the expectation could be this one day, but the next day it's okay. Yeah, you got another bill you got to pay.
So
You know?
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen this happen when a woman meets a man for the first time, or a man approaches a woman, right? Me and you've already talked about how you meet a person's representative when you first meet
That's
them,
correct.
right?
I agree.
And what a lot of dudes do is they give the young lady this representative that makes them believe, hey, I can fulfill that endless, limitless list of expectations that you have. Let me take you
Mm-hmm.
out to these restaurants. Let me show you this car I drive. Let me show you how deep my pockets are. Right. And I know all those are material things, but those are the types of things that I believe today's man uses to show women that he can meet her expectations. Outside of being a gentleman, outside of
Mm-hmm.
respecting her, obviously you should respect the woman, right? Those are just basic common sense things you should do for anyone, not just the
Mm-hmm.
opposite sex. But men sort of sell themselves to women, pretty much saying, "Baby, you want to roll with me because I can meet that limitless list, and whatever you bring to me, I'm gonna give it to you." Right? Y'all
Right.
first 2 Valentine's days off the hook. That first 3 Christmases off the hook. The,
Off the
the
hook.
the first couple birthdays off the hook, man. You done flew to Italy, Japan. You know what I'm saying? You done did it.
First year bomb. That first
Right.
year bomb.
You know what I mean? Is that limitless list that she has, can we sort of take fault for that, or that kind of guy take fault for that, for making her believe he was that kind of guy from the jump? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I would say, and that's a great point. I would say in the scenario that you gave, it's definitely his fault, because she's not increasing her expectations. She's not changing her expectations. You know, if she want to eat at 5-star restaurants and you providing that in the beginning, and
Mm-hmm.
then later on things change, and it may be his representative and he trying to run game, but he really don't have it like that. But he got a tax return for 20,000, and he can showboat. He can get it in for this next 6 months. You know. And I say two words to counter that. Two words that came to mind when you were having that scenario to me:
Mm-hmm.
consistency and integrity. If you dating a woman and you are honest with her
Mm-hmm.
and saying, "Hey, you know, this is the situation," then let her make that decision on whether or not she want to continue. But do not, like I said, when you throw that representative out there, like you got it like that,
Mm-hmm.
and then 6 months later or a year later, you just stop.
Right.
Then I will put that on us men, us brothers. That's your fault, because you're not staying consistent,
That's
and
right.
that's one thing. I'm sure when we have another episode about what women want,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure consistency would be on the top of their list.
Definitely.
You know, so I would definitely put that on the brothers, because again, her expectations, she's only going by what you presenting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you decide to put the representative on and be the big time baller,
Mm-hmm.
and then she sees later on that you're not the big time baller, then she's going to move accordingly. But I think it's a need to be some honesty within that representative, and that's another thing. I mean, you should have some honesty in there about your finances, or there should be some things that you all have being honest about, because you say, okay, I really like you,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to go out every weekend, and every time we go out, we spending $200, $300, $400.
Right.
I'm in a situation right now where I'm trying to save my money. I'm trying to pay these bills. I'm trying to manage this, that, and the other. And it just seems to create a certain situation where the man has created this on his own because he was playing a representative. And you just got to be honest. If you don't have it, you don't have it. We all have been there.
That's right.
Everybody, nobody starts off being rich and millionaires. So good point.
I will say on the flip side of that, because you know me, I try to look at two sides of the same coin.
Definitely.
The other side of that is, I believe it's hard for a guy in this time and era to approach a young lady and not do those things to get her attention.
You hit it right on the head.
Right? I think it's very difficult for any man to meet today's woman and approach her and say, hey, you know, I like you. I find you attractive. I'm a good guy. Can we go out? Oh, but by the way,
I ain't got it like
I
that.
won't be taking you to a 5-star restaurant.
Right.
You know, I don't have a fly car. You know, I don't buy XYZ name brands because right now I can't afford it because I'm trying to get my credit up. Or whatever it is, right? Those things don't work when it comes to meeting new women.
I agree 100%.
Right? Because I believe women want to be approached in all these weird and exotic ways to feel like, oh, he really tried. That it just makes the average good guy like not even try.
That's another level of expectation.
Yeah.
And like I said before, there's a perception that a man has to look the part, be the part, act the part, and sometimes be that for her friends too, if they all around, because there's a perception there that you're supposed to look the part and be the part. And if you can't look the part and you can't be the part, then I'm not going to give you the time of day. But then what women don't understand is they end up chasing all the women end up chasing the same type of man. They end up chasing the same guy. And then they wonder why certain things play out. But to get back to that, the expectations, the clarity, and like you said, men having to put on that representative. That's big.
Absolutely.
Peace. Woo.
Peace. PEA. CE. Peace.
Hit that again. Hit that motherfucking bell on that one, goddamn it. You know, let me start it off with that. So I know women out there listening, y'all want to argue us down. You want the last word. You want to prove your point. And most men are going to just give you that. And you're still not happy with that. You still get mad at that. Why are you not fighting with me? What? Why am I not fighting with you? Because I want peace.
I don't want to fight.
You know, and then if we do argue about whatever we arguing about, and I try to prove a point, and guess what? When the man's point is actually proven, ooh, they get hot then. Fellas, take notes here. Take the L.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
Because there's a pride thing going there. You have to make sure that she's being heard. You have to make sure that she's being respected. You have to make sure that her points are being acknowledged. But you can't even just take the L. You gotta come back and say, I understand. You have to come back and repeat what she said. You have to come back and do all these things. Now, when you have an issue, I think that's going to be the next one. Double standards.
Double standards.
Double standards. That's what we on right now.
That's never going anywhere, right? Never. One of the biggest double standards in any relationship between a man and a woman is honesty, the level of honesty.
Yeah.
And the way you have to edit your honesty with each other, right? I think that women definitely can just fly off at the mouth and almost say whatever they want to get their point across in whatever it is they're feeling and what they're saying. Men don't have that luxury. At least the men that really, really respect the women that they're with. Even in anger, you are still very careful with how you say things to her.
Right.
right?
Right.
I've been angry at my woman a few times, but even in
Mhm.
that anger, I'm very conscious of what's coming out of my mouth and how it's coming out,
You have to be.
right? Even if she doesn't seem to have that same, thing going on, that same editing going on before it comes out, I
Mhm.
think that men somehow take that responsibility on and say, you know what, no matter what happens, I love this woman and I care about her to the point that even in anger, I'm not going to say anything too out of pocket or too
Mhm.
disrespectful that's not based around the point I'm trying to make. And if it's outside of the point I'm trying to make, it doesn't need to be said. On the flip side of that, women can go off on a tangent that has nothing to do with the conversation.
Man, what? Boy. And everybody knows these things. Everybody understands that. But it needs to be understood that there's a level of self-control that men have to have that women have never been held accountable for. They don't have to have that self-control.
Hmm.
And that's because throughout time they have
Hmm.
abused that
That's right.
when they did have the opportunity to be controlled. Men have abused that in many ways. So now the tables have turned. And men have to understand that dynamic and understand that this is not going to be a walk in the park, and you're going to have that self-control. But yeah, that double standard is real,
It is.
and we just want peace. Don't take it personal if I just say, you know what, baby, you right. Don't take it personal if I say, okay,
Hmm.
and just that's it, nothing else behind it. Just say,
Hmm.
okay. Don't take it personal if I say, you know what, baby, you right. I was wrong. And guess what? Now I'm being sarcastic. I'm just trying to shut you up.
And
No,
you really and
no.
you really want to say yes. That's
I
exactly what I'm
really,
trying
I
to do,
really want to
baby.
say yes because I want my peace. So, ladies, if you want to know what men want, we want some peace. We want some quiet time.
Hmm.
We want some time where you're not where everything isn't focused around you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be focused around me. It can just be a moment in time where nobody's fighting for position, nobody's fighting for clout, nobody's fighting for who's wrong, who's right. We just want the peace. And men have to really understand that you need to let your woman know, hey, I'm only agreeing with you, or I'm only trying to understand you, or I'm only trying to do these things because I want peace, and because guess what? I might actually agree with what you're saying. You might actually be right in this argument.
Right.
And that's the thing that women don't really understand. Like, okay, you're right. I tell my young brothers all the time, it's okay to say you wrong and admit that you're wrong, but you got to be careful on how you admit you wrong because they may take it as you being smart and being a smart ass. So peace is critical.
It
I
is.
think men want peace, but I think a lot of men don't know how to get to that peace. And to get to that peace, you got to really be more critical in your communication because women, they judging you everything you say, everything you do,
Hmm.
is being critiqued.
It is. And it's our responsibility to relay that to the woman in our life, right? If you're not telling your woman that you need a timeout, that you'd like some alone time to do something you want to do, then she won't
Right.
know you want that.
That's right.
And what can happen is in a role reversal, the dude can end up feeling some kind of way towards his woman because he feel like she
Thank
not
you.
paying attention. She don't see that I need space. She don't see that I'm stressed. She don't see that I need some time alone. Well, she may not. If you have not said it and set that, I wouldn't call it an expectation. Or maybe it is. I don't know. But if you have not expressed that to her, she won't know that you need that.
Right,
And,
right,
and she's not a mind reader any more than we are mind readers. So,
right.
and that goes back to your first comment about communication.
I mean, this list is probably going to be the same list for the women and what women want. So then the question would be, if the lists are very similar, what the hell is the problem? What is the goddamn problem? How we got the same list and we fighting every day?
That's right. That's a great question. How do we have the same list
And we fighting every
we
day.
still can't get this shit together?
And we still can't get this shit right. Ain't that something?
Wow.
Can't get right.
Hey man, that right there is bro. That's a great question.
What we cover so far? Communication, clarity, peace. I'm sure women want those same things.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What else do men want? What else do men want? Let's talk about sex, man. Let's get into it.
So I would say one of the first misconceptions that women don't understand about men is that men don't always only want sex.
I agree.
When a man is grown and he has things going on in his life, when he has a job and he has kids, he has responsibilities, and he has things weighing on him, it's not true that the only thing men want is sex. Sometimes men just want peace.
Yeah.
Sometimes men just want to sit down and chill out. Believe it or not, men don't always want sex. Imagine this scenario: a guy comes home from work, had a hard, stressful day, and his woman is in the mood. Now, is it okay for him to say, "Nah, I've had a stressful day, and I'm really not in the mood"? So you talked about something earlier about double standards, right? That right there is a hell of a double standard.
Oh yeah, because you can't say that,
bro. You let a man tell his woman that he not in the mood.
All hell gonna break loose,
bro. Smoke in the city. That's all I'm
Smoke
saying.
in the city.
It's gonna be furniture moving around this motherfucker. Hey, look now. Let me say this: I've never had that problem. So.
right. Put that out there straight up. You hold it down.
I don't have that problem, but I'm just saying.
Straight up.
And I've never not wanted to love on my woman, right? But it can come a time where a man has a lot going on and he's not thinking about sex, right?
Yeah.
I would say number 2, women need to understand that it's not a man's responsibility to make sure you have good sex without telling him what you like.
Yeah.
Right? Now, it takes 2 people to have a good sexual experience. 2 people. That means the man needs to know what he likes and the woman needs to know what she likes. And you both need to know how to communicate that to each other, either physically or verbally, so that you both get what you're looking for out of the sex. But if you have not told a man what you like and how you like it or where you like it or whatever it is you got going on, you cannot expect him to just do it the way you want him to do it.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. Right?
Yeah. You keyed on a few things. Women have to understand what type of man they're dealing with. And a lot of times they compare. They actually compare their lovers from previous experience to the lover that they're dealing with today. If he shows signs of the things that caused turmoil in her past, she will react in a certain way. And I want my ladies to send an email, say I'm wrong, fight me on this.
dubandtrey@gmail.com.
Women compare men every damn day. If he says something like your ex, if he does something like your ex, he's your goddamn ex.
Right at that moment.
That's real shit. Yeah. Like, I'm telling you, that's my experience. That's the experience of people that I know. Don't walk in them shoes. Don't take a footprint that direction, which is quote unquote a conversation that's never been had.
Right.
A conversation that she's never expressed to you, things that are her triggers. That's big. Identifying your triggers, identifying things that will set you off. And when a man comes home and he doesn't feel like having sex, that tells you he's an emotional lover.
Absolutely.
He's not a physical lover. He's an emotional lover. Ladies need to understand that's easier for you.
Right.
To identify what kind of man you have. If your man is an emotional lover, 9 times out of 10, he ain't out here fucking everything moving. because he got to be emotionally connected to the woman to even get in the midst of that, to
That's a great
perform the
point.
way he want to perform.
Mm-hmm.
So understand what kind of man you got. A man can be a barbaric, physical, just straight physical. We have the advantage when it comes to that.
Right.
We can be physical and not have any emotion to it. But when it comes to stress in real life, that's a whole different thing.
Whole different beast.
It's a whole different beast. So I'm just saying, women, have that conversation with him. I see a lot of things where women ask questions, but they don't give you the real reason why they're asking the question. When a woman asks you a question and they play these little card games that you see they got out now, these goddamn relationship card games and shit.
Right.
Does this mean, why can't we just have a goddamn conversation?
Why can't we just talk?
You want to play a fucking card game. If we ain't playing spades or Bill West, I don't want to play that goddamn relationship game. That's dumb as shit. That means we can't. That means this card game means we stupid. That means you stupid, and that means I'm stupid. Relationship game? Are you serious? Are you fucking serious right now? Taking a fucking drink, man.
What's crazy about that is, man, I see that on my Facebook and stuff all the time where they advertise this little game. People sit down and they ask these questions to each other. When was the last time I made you mad? When was the last time this happened?
Nigga, you know.
You like,
motherfucker, you know.
You know. Right.
Hey, look. I understand the concept behind it. No shade, no hate.
Mm-hmm.
I understand the concept behind it. It's supposed to spark communication. I get that, but we grown, man. Come on, ladies and gentlemen, we grown. If you ain't putting in that effort, if your motives ain't in that direction, then you wasting your time anyway.
I'm gonna tell you that for a lot of people, it's very hard for people to start an emotional conversation with other people.
Mm.
You'll see it not only in relationships, you'll see it in the workplace.
Right.
You'll see certain people have difficult times starting conversations that need to be had, but are difficult conversations. And a person would rather suffer in silence. Some people would rather suffer in silence than to deal with the stress and the anxiety of starting a conversation that's going to be difficult.
Yeah.
You know, and I get that's what that card game is supposed to replace, is relieving the anxiety of saying, hey, we need to talk. But at the same time, you know, we grown.
I agree. I mean, everybody don't come from the same background, but I'm just speaking for me. Of course, everything I say on this show is my own personal opinion. It's not, law, but how I was raised and how I was brought up, and I'm my mother's child. My mother was a great communicator, so I'm a great communicator. And the same thing, you should understand these things early on in life. And if you don't have those qualities, the card game is only going to allow you to recognize those flaws in your relationship.
That's right.
Because what's going to happen is this: you're going to find some shit out that you ain't fucking know, and then and guess what? Now your medium situation is a hostile situation because you played the motherfucking card game, and you ain't know that your man or your girl was a freak.
Then you back to square one, not having a difficult conversation, knowing more than you wanted to know.
Due diligence. If you want a good relationship, you gotta ask everything that comes to mind. And if the person don't want to answer it or whatever, that's fine. But it's on you to give your relationship or the person that you like, ladies. If you like this guy, it's on you to do your due diligence to ask every question in the book, but at the same time, not compare, because you don't know where this guy may flourish in a different way.
That's right.
Don't say because, okay, they got the same wardrobe, that he's the same type of guy. He may flourish and act and communicate in a different way. Understand your man. And the best way to understand your man is to really sit down and have a conversation with him about where he comes from, what he believes in, not just how much he makes. These things are really simple, But if you don't have that communication, if you don't have that integrity, if you can try your best to get rid of the double standards and the person that you involved with, give them a clean slate, you should be okay. But again, you come in and say you tired, they take it and
That's
run
right.
with it. Because you know why? That's the trauma. That's the trauma coming up. Those are the conversations those are the triggers. If you have a real person that's beside you, ladies and gentlemen, talk about them triggers. Because one thing I'm not gonna do, I don't do no half-ass job. So if I ain't feeling it, I ain't feeling it. Don't force me to do anything. Because when you get into a forceful thing, the word expectations comes back in then.
It does.
So fellas, if you're not feeling it, say you're not feeling it. If she can't accept you for who you are in that moment, then maybe you need to rethink who you're dealing with. And ladies, it go for you too. It's the same thing. These things, I'm sure women have to deal with as well. So it don't just go one way. And we're going to have a show to let the ladies rip and run and talk all their shit that they want to talk. Because I know they're going to talk some shit.
That's right.
Men want peace. Men want to be able to come home, be in a situation where they don't have to pretend just to protect your feelings, because that's a job in itself.
And I'm gonna give you another one that men want.
Mm-hmm.
Men want you women to learn yourselves. You need to know yourself.
Yes, sir.
Before you think I'm supposed to know you. If you don't know what you like, if you don't know what you don't like, if you don't know what your triggers are, if you don't know what your issues are, if you don't know what your trauma is, then a man is walking into a dark closet and he really has no idea who he's going to run into when he turns the flashlight on in there. And you don't know who he's going to run into either because you don't know yourself. You have to know who you are to allow someone else to love you for who you are. If you don't know who you are, no one can love you for who you are because you can't show them who you are.
Yeah. And I'm going to add to that, D. Know who you are and love who you are. Love who you are, because if you don't love who you are, then how can you love somebody else? How can you put that energy into somebody else? Because what happens is, like I said, it becomes work. When your relationship becomes work for either side, from a woman's perspective or from a man's perspective, it's a problem. Ladies, we want you to understand who you are. That's real.
Yeah.
One week you this person, the next week you another person. And then it's the man's fault on why things are blown up and wrong and all these other things. So yeah, I agree. I agree with that 100%.
Yeah. And like you said, same list, two sexes, same list. Fellas, you got to know who you are.
You got to know who you are.
And ladies, you got to stop. You got to stop dealing with inconsistent men. If he says one thing and does another, that's inconsistent. If he does something and says something different, that's inconsistent.
Would you say we simple?
Right. We are. Men are real simple. And if women pay attention, we will show you and tell you exactly what our intentions are.
That's right.
If you look past what you think we can be and see us for who we are, a man will show you exactly what he is and who he is. We think we're good at it, but we're not. Because what we do is when we run into those women who don't look deep enough to see who we are, those are ones that kind of man deals with. When he meets that woman who was in tune to herself, she knows what she wants and she can see his gains, he will leave her alone all day. He will not deal with that kind of woman. There are men that prey on confused women, who can't see past their eyes.
The whole objective is to court the woman, is to please the woman. But again, you have to really, really, really understand yourself, and you have to understand your triggers. You have to do all of that before you even understand your significant other stuff. There's always a horror story in our past. Everybody done been through something bad, but you cannot let that deter you going forward. And I think a lot of times, especially women, a lot of times because of what they've gone through, they treat men differently. They will, and I'm not going to do that again. I'm not going to say that again. I'm not going to be that again. And what's happening is you've already taken away some of the things that man is worthy of. So, we talked about the physical. We talked about the expectations. We talked about understanding, peace.
Being appreciated.
Woo! Can you tell your man he a king for no reason? And I'm gonna tell you, if you're good at that, your relationship is probably gonna be very good, because if you can make him feel like a king in the public eye, and you can make him feel like a king in the private eye, he may not even be quote unquote where you want him to be, but you're supporting him. You see his ambition, you see his effort. You treat him like a king, because actually he is a king, because the guy that's willing to grow and willing to learn and willing to put his pride aside, he is more important than the quote unquote high value man.
Mm.
And if you keep that in mind, you'll understand that all of these men out here, all of us alpha males, all of us guys they're gonna wanna dominate, and they're gonna want to take the lead, and so on and so forth. But there's a sense of selflessness. If you recognize a sense of selflessness in a man, you better keep him.
That's right.
You better keep him, because how he gets off, how he gets pleasure is by serving other people. That's a characteristic that you can't pay for. Servant leaders.
That is a quality that many don't have.
That many don't have. If you have a friend, if you have a wife, a husband, a spouse, or a boyfriend, girlfriend who's displaying that characteristic, appreciate that person. Those folks don't come around too often. I think sometimes women allow their emotions to get the best of them, and they're guarded because they had a traumatic experience. But
Right.
you have to understand that traumatic experiences are good because you learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care where you go. I don't care what millionaire you ask. You ask any millionaire out here in the world, they're gonna tell you they fell flat on their face. They had a traumatic experience before they became whatever they became. They had to learn from their mistakes.
Failure is the best teacher, man. If anybody thinks about anything they've been successful in, you really can't say that you learned anything from
That's
it.
right. That's right.
If you ask any person, where were you most learned in your life, you're going to talk about a failure. Most people are going to talk about a failure.
That's what I'm gonna do.
This is where I learned the most. Yeah.
And I'll say also, what men want is to not feel like they're in a competitive situation with their woman, or vice versa. The competitive thing, y'all got to stop that. I understand that it's a new day, it's independent, we pro everything. We pro everything out here, right? So I get it.
Yeah.
I get that. But the man is the head. How many times you've been in a conversation and you feel like, damn, this sounds like we competing against each other. For example, I'm gonna just throw some shit out there. If I say I'm going on a trip with Miami to my friends, a woman feels some type of way. She get on the phone with her girlfriends and she say,
and they going on a
"We
trip
going
too.
on a trip too." So my thing is this: I don't have a problem with that, but you putting toxic energy into your relationship, because these aren't organic feelings that you feeling. You're only initiating this particular thing because your man did it, and you feel like you got to compete with that. And that goes back into understanding who you are. Like you said, that goes back to understanding who you are. But a man doesn't want to feel like he's competing. He has to compete with the rest of the world. If you're dealing with a black man, he has to compete with the rest of the world. I know when I sit in my business meeting, I'm the only black brother in there. That's a lot of sisters. It's some white folks and some other nationality. But when I'm in that environment, I'm competing against them. But these aren't people that have my best interest, that I'm personally involved with. So you talking about the person that I'm supposed to, quote unquote, the person that I'm supposed to spend the rest of my life with is competing with me on every level. I'm supposed to be cool with that.
The person you're supposed to be able to be almost the most vulnerable around.
The person that you're supposed to be the most vulnerable around, I'm supposed
You know
to
what I mean?
compete with that? No. I just say that because I want ladies to understand that. And let me say this: the guys need to make sure that you let these ladies know that they empowered and they strong and they appreciate it as well. But I need my ladies to understand that men don't want to compete at home. Men do not want to compete at home. They got to compete soon as they step foot out the door. We have to compete. We have to compete with other men,
other women,
everything.
Yeah.
So we don't want to compete at home. We want peace. We don't want to compete at home. We don't want the double standards. We want understanding. We want integrity. We want communication.
That's a hell of a list.
Yeah. And I'm sure they got that list too, but fuck that. We ain't talking about their ass.
That's right. We ain't talking about it. This is our list. This is a man's list.
Hello. and back to that physical. Ladies, men want ladies to understand their position. Understand your position you in. If you're a queen, walk like a queen.
Act like a queen.
Act like a queen. Don't worry about these scallywags out here trying to get your man, because you are the queen. Don't worry about that. You spending all this time and energy worrying about some little scallywag junk that say hello to him. While y'all was out, y'all like, who the fuck is that? And why the fuck she's speaking to you? And then, because he's a king and he a high value man, and every woman gonna speak to him that know him.
That's right. And she might see what you see.
And she see what you see.
Or she might see what you don't see. Or she might see what you're ignoring. Who knows?
Exactly. Either way, that's your man. He's yours. He is with you. And as long as he's not disrespecting you, as long as he's not disrespecting the relationship, accept your position. Stop doubting yourself. Stop doubting the situation based off your past.
Right.
And instead of saying, you know what, this can't be real. He got to be lying. He got to be. It's they don't want to believe it.
I think the problem is what I think some women don't understand is when you are dealing with a king, as you put it, you're dealing with a kind of person that likes his inner circle. He loves his inner circle.
Yeah.
Right. And he would not do anything to put anyone between him and the people he loved the most.
That's right.
Right. That's what a king does. Yeah. And if you are his woman, he has put you in a place in his life that he would never, ever allow something to come in his life that would harm you.
That's right.
Right. Now, it's a lot of dudes out there that claim to be this and claim to be that, but they not.
Right.
If you're dealing with a real king, you will know it, because you will see that he has never, ever put you in a situation on purpose, right? Or compromise y'all's relationship on purpose. Now, I'm not saying people don't make mistakes, and him giving another woman some attention that you didn't like may not even really count as a mistake. That may be you assuming he was giving this woman attention for a reason that he really wasn't. He was just being a gentleman and being respectful. And that's the other thing. Women, when you're dealing with a man who is a gentleman and respectful, he is going to be a gentleman and he's going to respect all women.
That's right.
You should want a man. You should want a man that respects all women. There's no way you should be with a dude who can look at a woman and call her a bitch right in her face
and be rude,
and then go home and eat dinner with her.
Right. And be rude because you want him to be rude because you and your emotions.
Right. Yeah. Because you thinking, oh yeah, that's right. He cussed her out, but he won't do that to me. Nah, he do it to you.
You just reminded me of a situation. I had a situation where I was out and this is, long time ago. I was in a public environment. I had a situation where another woman was just speaking, and the woman I was with was just completely out of whack because this other woman, this other beautiful woman, was speaking to me. And I was like, do you think you're not beautiful? Do you think you're not deserving of the position that you're in right now? So that goes back into what you were saying. You need to understand what type of man you have. You need to understand yourself and understand that you need to play your position. You're the queen. And if it, now, I'm not talking about disrespect. Now, if disrespect happens, then
Right.
then all the shit we talking about go out the door. I'm not
That
talking
shit
about
go out
that.
the door.
But I'm talking about cordial interaction. I'm talking about cordial
That's right.
interaction. It'd be different if this guy sees a woman and he run off, he buying the whole crew drinks, and you sitting over there looking stupid. That's different. That's disrespectful.
There's a thin line between respectful
Mhm.
and from a man showing respect to other women and the woman he is with looking at it as being disrespectful. That is a very thin line. And that's a tightrope walk for men.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what some women have to realize is that when you're a respectful person, you're out in public and people speak to you, just people in general, you speak back. If you don't mind talking to people, you don't mind conversing with people, no matter what sex they are. If it's another woman and you're out with your woman, someone sparks a interesting conversation, you might jump in a conversation. It doesn't mean you're flirting. It doesn't mean you're trying to get in somebody's draws. You're just intrigued by the conversation. That's a weird situation to be in because it can look disrespectful. Because there are guys out there who use that respect to flirt, who use that time and space to be respectful to other women, but kind of turn into a little side kind of flirting kind of thing. Right. And I know that happens.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, again, women, you have to know the kind of man you have. If you got a flirty dude, then you shouldn't be surprised when he out with you and he side eyeing another woman or saying something sort of inappropriate to another woman in your presence. I'm sure he's always done that. And if you've been dealing with it, then you've chosen to deal with it.
I completely agree. Good point. Peace, respect, appreciation, communication, understanding. We kind of touched on all of those things already.
We did. Even though we kind of went off to the side a little bit on a couple of those, but I think that's a good list.
Yeah, I think it's a good list
start.
too. I mean,
those are like the main topics, and then everything else branches out from those. Every situation, almost every scenario, if you can have those things,
right.
You can't have all of it. I know nobody has all of those things, or at least all of them evenly. But that's the goal of working on a relationship.
Yeah.
You work on, what you're already good at, and you work on what you need to improve on.
I want to give ladies an aha moment.
One could be understanding the difference between a man being committed and a man being tied down. Because they're two different things. And where I'm coming from with that is a lot of men fear being tied down, but they don't fear commitment.
That's right.
And they're two different things.
And women kind of tied together.
They think those are the same things. And they're not the same thing. You can have a committed man who does not feel tied down, which means he can love you, he can be yours, he can be faithful, he can be honest, but sometimes he just wants to go do something he wants to do without having to be asked 100 questions about where he's going, how long he's going to be there, who he's going with, why he's going, why you wearing that, or any other question that you may want to ask him when he leaves the house or wherever you guys are, right? Let him breathe.
Yeah.
He's still an individual person who has individual likes outside of you. You're not the only thing he likes.
Amen.
You're the only woman he's with.
Amen.
You're the only woman he likes, but you're not the only presence or the only being that he may like. He may like to work out. He may like to go to the bar. He may like to play video games. I don't know. But whatever it is he likes to do, he still wants to do those things without feeling like he needs your permission to do them.
That's it.
And you can have a committed relationship without being tied down. And tied down doesn't mean loose. It doesn't mean you dating other people. It doesn't mean you're seeing other people. It doesn't even mean that you're entertaining company of the opposite sex. It just simply means that you trust that I'm just doing something that I just kind of want to do. Just because I want to do it.
And if you really care about that person, you're going to want that person to do that.
You want them to have that. You don't want to be the person that stops another person from doing something they want to do because they enjoy doing it.
Yeah. Allow the man to do whatever it is he enjoys doing.
If he doing dirt out in the street, he gonna hide it from you anyway.
Yeah.
So you clocking him left and right is not gonna make a difference. It's just gonna stress you out, and then it's gonna make him hide more shit from you.
Yeah, you can't change the inevitable.
Because he just don't want. Right. He don't want to deal with the questions.
Yeah.
And I speak from my current relationship with that one.
Mm-hmm.
She's never asked me, so who was there? So what y'all do?
Right.
What y'all talk about?
Yeah.
She doesn't care. And at the same time, I also don't give her the feelings that she can't trust me. So that's on the man on the man side. If you're giving off the type of energy where you can't be trusted, well, maybe you deserve all those damn questions she asking you.
Yeah, we're not talking about them dudes that deserve that energy. But for the guys that are really putting the effort towards building, that are really putting the effort towards communication, that are really putting the effort towards what Doug talked about, ladies, you gotta recognize it. Recognize it, appreciate it, do whatever you gotta do. But I promise you, that's what men want.